So that's how Augustine tackled Genesis 1 and its opening. But again, I want to emphasize that Augustine may have been trying too hard to get Genesis to answer the kind of question he was asking at that point. As I mentioned in class on Friday, regardless of what Genesis 1 in the opening says, and by I'm going to put in a parenthetical remark. I suspect it's because of this language in the opening of Genesis that in one of Joseph Smith's versions of Genesis 1, and he's got at least two, if not three, but one of them talks about the gods organized matter. And so the idea being that the matter was already there, and he does use the plural, the gods, without identifying them. Subsequent LDS tradition pretty much insists that those gods are two, God the Father and God the Son. Those are the gods who fashioned this world out of basically material that was already around, I guess. A lot of hydrogen. What's water made of? You probably know. So that God took these elements and organized a world. As I also said Friday, that's really an unacceptable position for Christian faith, and I think the same thing for Jewish and Muslim. Because then you're suggesting that there's this material, whatever you want to call it, as I said in class, maybe subatomic particles, hydrogen, who knows, that's already existing. It's already there when God sort of, I'll say, comes along and, where'd that stuff come from? So God isn't the creator of it, it's just already there. Christianity rejects that idea because you've now basically postulated two ultimate realities, God and this other stuff, uncreated by God. So you basically have two, we'll say, uncreated realities, God and this other stuff, which means that there is one who is alongside of God, basically equal in final status maybe to God, for which God does not give an account, cannot give an account. Or maybe, who knows, maybe God says, I know how it came into being, or I think the thing is, it would have to always have been. If God did not create it, it would also have to always have been. Whew. Well, here's the thing. Now I'm going to blow your mind. If you've been going like, what in the world are you talking about, Lodal? Grab on tight, hold on, and stay with me. So in the idea that I've already kind of floated out there, I mean, again, I don't think Genesis 1 is addressing these kinds of questions, certainly not in any direct way. So it's not like I think that Genesis 1 teaches that there is this pre-existent matter, we'll call it water and dirt, or that there was other materials that God organized into being water and dirt that already existed. I don't think that's correct, but that does not mean that those materials couldn't be everlasting. Now that possibility is predicated, I know Luke especially is going like, what, Lodal, what are you saying? It would be predicated on the idea that's not that outlandish, that God has everlastingly been a creator. That there has never been, we'll say, a time or a moment in God's life, God's being, when God was not exercising creative love. That God is love everlastingly. And so, it is speculation, and so our God has everlastingly created worlds. Maybe some more successful than others. Maybe some pretty much dead, dark material. Maybe some where creatures were created with no freedom, where they have no option but to comply with their creator's will, much like we think of many, like AI type robots, although we're all always a little worried about them, aren't we? So maybe that's another world that's already been created, and we don't know, right? But the idea would be, even if one could demonstrate that there have been like countless worlds before ours, countless universes before ours, our doctrine of God as creator would compel us to insist that God is the creator of all those universes, even if there's never been a time when God wasn't creating. Because after all, the other sort of possibility would be God, who would be eternally triune love, just the abundance of love within the triune reality, this mysterious social being called God, who didn't do anything until, I think I'll make a world. I think I'll make a universe. It almost makes more sense, and again, not the Bible teaches this. The Bible doesn't unteach it. It doesn't address it. But it certainly isn't nonsense. I'll say it that way. It isn't nonsense to speculate that God, if God is love, and that love is always like fruitful and outgoing and creative and calling forth creaturely existence, that the triune God might share this love. And, in some worlds that works out well, and some not so well. And I actually think it could be happening throughout our universe. I wouldn't even want to try to guess a number. And one could speculate as to how well it's going in other worlds, if in fact it's going in other worlds. But I don't have any problem with that idea. In fact, my theology would expect it. It would expect it, that such a God of fruitful, creative love certainly is creating within the universe that we inhabit and observe. And if there have been previous universes, or if there will be universes that follow ours, I have no reason to think that those have similar aims for God. This is all based on the idea that God is love. And as love, God is one who longs, or by nature, shares being, shares existence, power. Although we are creatures and we are limited in our capacity to exist and to exercise power, it's still a loving, self-emptying God who is creating us and perhaps creating other intelligences in the hope, expectation that creaturely existence can mature, evolve, grow to the point of becoming at least mildly aware of God, or asking questions about God, and then beginning to seek answers, to pray, to seek for that which is worthy of worship. And so this may well be sort of, my goodness, an everlastingly creative, fruitful God, and we are blessed to be in the adventure of this particular universe. And I do like Haut's language of adventure. That's some wild speculation there. But I do want you to take notes on this and submit them to me so that I know that you've seen. And you can ask questions. I'll try to watch for the questions. If you have questions about anything I've said or want to challenge it, I'm okay with that. I would invite that. If you do, you might want to highlight it in your notes, because I do try to skim over them. I can't read everything. But especially if you have something you want me to see, question, comment, exclamation, protest, just make sure to highlight, give it a nice arrow or an asterisk so that I can see it, and maybe we can even discuss it further in class. All right, I'm going to bring this one to a close and then move to the reading for today in Science and Faith by John Howe.